In this video, I'll be showing you how to make a random code generator that will allow you to choose the length of the code, and as a bonus, will give you the code written in the phonetic alphabet. To start off, you'll want to put a script in the ServerScript service and name it whatever you want. In this case, I'm going to name it code generator. Now put a module script within the script and name it codes, because that's the name we're going to be looking for when calling for the module script. We're going to store a bit of information in the module script that we'll use in the actual script to get the code written in the phonetic alphabet. To start, you want to make a table and call it codes. And since this is a module script, you're going to want to return the table so that the script will be able to talk to the module script and get the information it needs. Within the codes table, you're going to make another table called Phonetic ABC. Within the Phonetic ABC table, you're going to write all the information for each number in the phonetic alphabet. For example, 1 will be Oscar, November, Echo, and 2 will be Tango, Whiskey, Oscar, and so on. Once you're done writing each number within the phonetic alphabet, you're done with the module script for now. Now, within the actual script, we're going to call the module script by requiring it and calling it codes. Next, we're going to make a value called length and attach the number 6. We're going to use the value of length to control how long the code will be. Now, let's create a function that we'll call generate code. Within the function, we're going to make two empty tables and call them code table and phonetic table. These tables are going to be used to temporarily store the code as they're being assembled piece by piece. After that, we'll make a for loop that is going to be used to make the code and store it within the table that we called code table. To make this loop, we're going to write for I equals 1, length, which is the length of the code, 1 do end. Now we're going to make a value called new code and use the math.random function to generate a random number between 0 and 9. Now we're going to call new code and insert it into the code table using the table.insert function. After that, we'll use the task.wait function to make it so it waits a quick moment before looping once again for the number of times that we set the length to. We're going to make another for loop, but this time we're going to loop through the code table to gather each number of the code and turn it into the phonetic alphabet. To make this loop, you're going to write for I num in pairs code table do end. Now we're going to use the table.insert function once again for the phonetic table this time. Now we're going to call codes to contact the module script and gather each number written in the phonetic alphabet from the phonetic ABC table and use num to choose the correct value. This is done because num is each number from code table from every time it loops. Once again, add the task.wait function so that it waits a quick moment for when it loops. Now we're just going to return each table for when the generate code function is called. The tables will be passed through and be able to be concatenated and unpacked. We can now call the generate code function with two values, which I'll call numerical codes and phonetic codes, which we'll use to print the codes. Before we can do that, we'll need to use the table.concat and table.unpack functions to properly get them the way we want. Now, to properly use the information that we return from the generate code function, what you're going to want to do is concat it, because if you don't concat it, you're just going to get the table back, and that's not what you want, especially if you are trying to put it on something like a GUI. So in this case, I'm going to print it out, but what you're going to do is just table.concat and then whichever one that you want. So I'm just going to do the normal code, and since we called that value numerical codes, we're just going to do numerical codes, and it's going to be the same thing with the phonetic alphabet version. So just table.concat and then we called it phonetic codes, and you're going to want to put a little something extra because it's just going to mesh it together. And here, I'll just show that right now. In certain areas, since in the module script, if we go do that, there's spaces right here, but if it gets put together, like, I don't know, if it was 7 and 8 were next to each other, November and Echo would not have a space between it. So if we run it and we pay attention to the output, if we do look at Echo and Tango, there is no space. There's also no space between Echo and Foxtrot, Romeo and November, and etc. Now, what we're going to do to fix that is just put a comma and then make a little string area, and then you're just going to put a space, because if you put anything else, it's like, I don't know, a dash. It will just put a dash between, like I said, for 7, 8, there would be a dash between November and Echo, and we don't want that. We just want it to be a space. So now that we've done that, when we run it, it's going to fix that issue. And if you want like multiple codes, what we can do is I will just do a while wait loop, and we'll do 1 second. It will print out a new code every 1 second. And look at that, if you pay attention to the output, there is a different code each time, and it's working just fine. See, there's 5, 1, 0, Foxtrot, India, Victor, Echo, that's 5, Oscar, November, Echo, that's 1, and then 0 would be Zulu, Echo, Romeo, Echo, and it's different each time. And now you can use it for whatever you wanted to now. So if you had a code for a door or something, you have a randomly generated thing. If you want them to figure it out, you could print out or put the phonetic alphabet version on a wall or something and leave it for them to figure it out. I do understand that I'm kind of bad at explaining things, but I do hope that this video helped at least a little bit and that you learned something as well. Make sure you guys take care of yourselves and have a wonderful day and or night.